pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to call the August 21st South Shore Falls Board of Directors meeting to order. So moved. We have all 5 directors here. The notice of the meeting was posted on August 15th, 2019. We have the minutes in your package of the July meeting. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at them?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept them as read?
Make a motion.
Second? All in favor? Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
How is everybody?
Very good.
We're going to go back in time a little bit tonight for a minute. About 50 some odd years ago, 2 kids who had only been married a year and a half set off for a concert in the woods.
Oh,
Turned out to be a 2-hour drive, turned into a 5-hour drive, 3-hour walk, rain, this, that, and the other. And the $50 tickets we had paid for off a teacher's $5,400 salary we didn't need. But we had a wonderful time, and it was really, an event that will last in your memory forever. But in thinking back about it, like all things that are good in this life, or most of them, it's not all easy. We had to walk a long way. There was no food after the second day. The toilets were all full. I mean, there was all these hardships. But in spite of all those hardships, here we were enjoying ourselves and having a time that I guess goes down in history, but we didn't know it. But more important than that, here we have another shirt, more important. And this one I'm very proud of. And looking back a little bit, this is a community. Jackie and I moved here 5 years ago next month. We didn't know. We came and looked at it and looked nice, it was what the price range we wanted, the size of the house we wanted. We didn't know really anything about the community. It looked good. And we've been in lots of communities over the years. But this community is special. We didn't know that when we moved in, but as other people moved in around us and we got to meet everybody, it just turned out to be a wonderful place. And that's why the 5 of us are sitting up here dedicating our time along with dozens and dozens and dozens of residents who helped to make this the great community it is. So thank you all, and I hope this is remembered for 50 more years. Higgins had the shirt. Okay, the manager's report. Jason.
Yes, working. Good. First, I want to let everyone know that, and also thank Donna Recchia for the residents who still do not have their backflows buried. She put in a lot of hard work, and for well over 100 residents now, the second time around they are burying their backflows. But I wanted to recognize Donna because there was a lot of residents who needed help in that area. We as a staff gave her this much help, and she did a lot of legwork and got that done. So if anybody was able to benefit from that, she was the one that put in all that work. Even the messages being sent from us were from her and the work she was doing. So if anybody was able to benefit from that, she's the person to thank next time you see her. Secondly, kind of sad news. I don't know how many of you are aware, but Heather will be leaving us within the next 30 days. So our lifestyles director has decided to leave for a family opportunity. She's moving back out west to Arizona, so it's not in a bad way, but a good thing for her. She's been trying to do it and hoping to, and she's finally got the opportunity to do it, so she's going to be leaving. That being said, everybody might wonder, what are we going to do? We were aware that this was a possibility for some time because it is something she's been working on. So we've kind of put some measures in place. Thought we would have a little more time, but still we've been working on it. Brooke as Cole Moreno has been working with her and learning that portion of the association so that she can step in and take over that role. So she's going to step in, and as long as everything continues to go well, hopefully she grows with us and can do a good job of that. Other staff positions will be adjusting a little bit. So as anyone comes to the clubhouse here, the way we're set up right now, we're going to adjust that a little bit to be a little more focused on resident services and how we provide that service. You're going to see less people sitting at the desk and more people put into focus positions in the association so that we're a little more task oriented and do a little better job. But we were kind of working towards that anyway, but definitely having Heather decide to leave kind of sped up the process and put us in a super drive to try to get things taken care of before she was gone. Lastly, as usual, talk about landscaping. Drove around again today, and we continue to drive the community on a regular basis. Still aware of the issues that are being worked on. They were out spraying for weeds today. We'll see how that works with the rain that we've had. Some of it has shown through some of the residents. Bruce, who's on the landscaping committee, has tried it and found that the weeds were dying even when sprayed now. We have the landscaping company out there spraying this morning today to see if we can get caught up, because as you can tell with all this rain, any bit of headway we got with the weeds is being lost at this time, but we're keep pushing forward, and hopefully we can get back to mowing on a regular basis if this rain would subside. As it shows right now, I think the last we checked, we've still got about 2 more weeks of this type of heavy rain. If that continues, they're going to keep trying to get what they can done in the interim. They've been working on the trees on the back fence to try to cut down the Brazilian peppers. So they're cutting through that, doing anything they can to stay ahead of what's going to catch up to them anyway with this rain and with the sun that's going to come right behind it. So they are working on it hard, trying to get caught back up at the same time losing headway with the rain, but they're still going. So hopefully everybody sees that, and we bear fruit from that after we get rid of some of these heavy rains.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, it's Jerry too. We've had some technical issues, and so the last financial statement I have is from June 30th that I've already reported on. So I guess you need to know we did get the money from the developer through our attorney, and we have taken that money and temporarily invested it in 2 different money market accounts to earn interest while we figure out what we're going to be doing. Other than that, everything looks okay. The reserves are at $1,172,000. Homeowners, as of July 31st, that I can tell, up here we have about $10,000 due, and prepayments from homeowners. So July 31st, if you've already paid your August dues, it shows up nice. We have $74,000. So all in all, things are good. I do want to ask to make a motion to approve the financial statements that are now posted January through May. Still working on June, and then I'll get to July, so by next board meeting, hopefully I'll be a little more current, but we're having communication issues, and I'm pretty particular. So,
Second.
thank you.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to old business. Pond 7 and 8, Ron. While he's bringing it up, you got it up? Yeah. Okay. Lights?
Thank you, sir. Just turn down a little bit so people can see better. For those of you who were at the workshop last week will be aware, could whoever's phone that is, could they please turn it off? You'll be aware that we received a second quote from Remsen Aquatics, who are a local company, do a lot of work for the county and for the city. and they came in with a quote for remediating Pond 8 and Pond 7. And I put up on the screen what you can see right now there, if you can see it. I can make it larger so you can see the numbers a little better. The top one is for Pond 8, which is, those of you who are familiar with the map of the community will recognize it there. It's the cattails at the end of Pond 8, which are no longer cattails. They quoted us $27,950 to remove that. In addition to that, we have to kill off all the vegetation on there first, so we have an additional quote there for $2,500. Then, in order to get the pond into its best condition once this has all been done, we want to put the bubblers in, which we had a quote for previously, and that's for approximately $15,000. The actual quote was for $13,000, but it was only for 6 bubblers in Pond 8. We may need to increase that. We'll have to take advice on that. So it's going to be around 15, maybe $1,000 or more, different from that, but approximately. Then we also, Swiftmud advised us that when we take the cattails out, we have to replace them with other plants around the pond to consume the nutrients which the cattails had otherwise consumed. So we're estimating about $15,000 to do that, and $1,000 contingency. That's $61,450. And then if you compare that with the previous quote we had from Solitude, it was going to cost us $127,575. So it's a fairly easy conclusion on that one, that the way we should be going is with Remsen. Then the second quote we received from them is for the middle picture there, which is Pond 7, which is adjacent to 41. That one is a lot more expensive. They made it clear they weren't particularly keen to do that. The problem is that there's very, very little water there, and in order to do this job, they need to have water. So the only way they can do this is they will have to build a dam of some sort across the bottom end of Pond 7 there to increase the water level. And once that's done, then they can do the work. So this is a more expensive process. Again, $2,500 for killing off all the vegetation that's there. We don't plan on any bubblers there, and then $5,000 approximately for plantings around that pond. And again, in contingency, that's $55,000 altogether against a quote from Solitude originally, which was $95,700. And then lastly, the other end of Pond 7, where there's a small area that used to be cattails that were cut down, but it's now very, very shallow and prevents any movement of the water. Anything that floats up from the east end to the west end gets stuck there, and when the wind blows the other way, it just blows right back where it came from. So they're going to dredge that small area there. It's relatively inexpensive, $7,900, $2,000 for bubblers. Up in the deeper area of that pond, which is right by Gulf and Sea Boulevard, so that keeps the water moving around. We don't need any additional plantings there, and that's a total of $9,900. So we're proposing a total expenditure of $127,280 as against an original quote of $225,275. So it's about $100,000 less, give or take $1 here or there, which is a considerable saving on the original quote that we got. So I think we are ready to make a motion to approve this. Oh, I should just add that we do have another issue with the pond out here, which is Pond 4, which needs the cattails cut back. We received a quote for $4,700 to do that. We believe we can get a cheaper quote, but we're going to include that in our proposal tonight, that we will do that for a total of $4,700 or less, hoping that we can get a lower quote from our normal pond maintenance people. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve an expenditure of $127,280, plus or minus a couple of $1,000s here or there, depending on what the actual bubbler cost is going to be for Remsen to remediate Pond 7 and Pond 8.
I have a comment before we do that. As you probably know, in the budget this year, we have been budgeting for this pond remediation. So in addition to other funds we have, there are budgetary funds that we're collecting this year that can be used for this.
I second the motion.
I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead,
Can I?
just one, please.
It's on.
Louise Doherty. I just wanted to kind of preface all that we've gone through with the ponds, and if you have any comments, this would be the time to make them. Because once we vote and we choose a company, we're going to be inconvenienced a lot. All the residents are going to be inconvenienced, not just the ones that live around the ponds. We're going to experience trucks, a lot of heavy equipment, and so if you have complaints or concerns, this is the time to vent them, because after we vote, we're going to move forward. Correct?
Thank you.
This will inconvenience mostly the people who live on Pond 8 and the other end of Pond 7. However, this is a community project. Pond 8 is one of the most important ponds in here because of the irrigation. So we understand that there's going to be some trials and tribulations. We're going to seriously do whatever we can to minimize the impact on the residents. We're going to meet separately with all the residents who face those work spaces so that they can know exactly what's going to happen, exactly what time it's going to happen, and how long it takes. I'm also, as we did with the other ones, there's two projects that we're going to give Renton, one bigger than the other, but the second one, in my opinion, should be conditioned on the completion of the first one to our satisfaction. Is that everybody's understanding? Okay. Does anyone else have any questions about Pond 8 or Pond 7? We'll have a round of questions now before we go. Yes, ma'am. Did you bring notes?
No.
Oh, good.
I just wanted to know if this Remsen company, I know all about aquatics and I'm pleased with them, but has this company been vetted?
Totally.
And has anyone gone to other communities where they have done similar work?
John and I watched this process being done at a lake up in North Tampa.
Okay.
It's exciting, and it works just the way he says it does.
And do you have any idea when this will begin?
September, October, Ron?
Yeah, there. Remember,
Okay.
we have to tie that down with him, but it has to be, it's going to be in that sort of time frame.
Thank you.
This company came to us through Kathy Sabrito. Those of you who know who she is, she's used them, and they've done a significant amount of work for the county and for the city of Tampa. So there's plenty of evidence that they are a good company. They've been in the business of taking care of ponds for many, many years. They saw an opportunity to do this type of remediation work because nobody else does it, as we found out. And they've made a specialty of doing it.
Anybody else have a question?
Once they start, how long is the procedure going to take?
About 1 month.
1 month?
Yes.
Guaranteed?
Don't go.
Plus or minus. Well, weather has an impact.
They told us it would take about 30 days. Obviously, weather is an issue and things of that nature, so we have to recognize those conditions, but under normal circumstances, it will take them about a month.
And Ron,
Yes.
the herbicide will be applied,
That's a separate
that's
exit.
a separate thing prior to any dredging. So you're talking 6 to 8 weeks for herbicide, because they can't dredge green plants. It has to be dead. And so that will be done prior. So if we begin in September, you've got 2 months and then a month of dredging.
Right. You won't experience any inconvenience during the preparatory stage. The inconvenience is going to come when they start to actually do the dredging and put big plastic bags out to catch all the stuff that they pull out of the water, and with a machine that's running all day long
Yeah.
doing the work. So that's when the real inconvenience will come.
Right.
Can't they start the remediation of the site fairly soon?
Yes, I mean, once we approve it, we can, Jason can get onto everybody and get the thing started.
I spoke with them today as well, so as soon as it's decided, then, as long as we have a time frame.
So we can get the herbicide spray perhaps this month to start the thing off.
Absolutely, as long as it falls into the time frame, they said they'll come out good as soon as we let them know. Yeah.
Anyone want to read your motion one more time, Ron?
That we appoint Remsen Aquatics to dredge ponds 8 and 7 for a total cost of $127,280, $127,280, I'm sorry, with a proviso that there's $2,000 or $3,000 of flexibility there for unforeseen extras.
Second? All in favor?
Thank you very much. It's been a long struggle to get where we are today.
$4,700 or less.
The mulch update, I think there's only, Jason, 5 or 6 houses left to go, units, buildings to go.
Sunset headed north, on the east side, has not been done. They will be here tomorrow. They're supposed to be here tomorrow to work on that.
Okay, and then that's it.
That should be, we're still gonna drive again and make sure that we haven't missed anything, but we drove today, that's the area we found that had not been completed yet. They'll have trucks out here tomorrow, they're gonna go around and make sure that they touch up and everything's done, the way, is completed, and then it should be complete from there. That's the only area we saw that was not done at all.
Okay. The opt-out policy for the residents who are doing their own landscaping, as we voted on the last board meeting, we're terminating all those opt-out agreements. If you are presently under an opt-out agreement and you wish to continue, we have a new form. You need to come to the office and sign. Otherwise, starting about September 1st, the landscapers will be told to go ahead and do your yard. So please, get a hold of us and let us know you want to continue. If you're away, just call us or email us so we know what's going on. Thank you very much. Did you want to? Yeah. John would like to say anything about the Contract Compliance Committee.
You've heard us talk for a couple of months now about the new Contract and Compliance Committee, and we really haven't told you an awful lot about it because it took us some time to get all of our ducks in the water and understand exactly what our responsibilities are going to do. So I want to take a couple of minutes tonight to not only introduce you to the people who are on the committee, but to give you a little bit of an understanding of what we've looked at so far and how we've decided to go forward. First of all, members of the Contract and Compliance Committee. Gary Best will be the chairman of the committee, and the following people are on the committee. And if anybody's here, please feel free to stand. Wayne Arnold, Ed Block, Randy Duckworth, Renata Greenfield, Greg Thrash, Jerry Navarro, Tom Sugg, Larry Maverick, and Jerry McLaughlin. With those names in mind, several of those people are retired attorneys whose responsibility will be to look at our contracts and modify them or suggest modifications that protect us, that make sure that all of our work responsibilities are included in those contracts, and to make sure that as we move forward, our contracts are not only complied with, but are uniform around the community. We realized right from the beginning that our initial goals were to review contracts and approve contracts and to examine the compliance of those contracts. What we've discovered is that one of the most important parts of this committee is going to be education. We now deal with contracts that constitute well over 60% of our budget, and you can all imagine what that number is. What we've found is that very few of our residents really don't really understand what's included in the contracts, what makes them a good contract, and what perhaps might be a weakness in a contract that they might have some information about, and also what the expense of the contract is and how it affects the total running of the contract. So beginning next month, we are going to offer to the community a community-wide meeting on each of the specific large continuing contracts that we deal with. The first one will be landscaping, so that we can speak with you concerning the exact nature of the contract, what is included in the contract, what you should expect from the contract, and ask in return any comments that you have about the things that are included in the contract and what might be added or modified. We have people in this community that have variety of specialties, and I'm sure that there are people in the community that have some opinions on, and educated opinions on landscaping. So the important thing for us, first of all, is to inform you what's included, to inform you why it costs what it does, and perhaps most importantly, to define for you how the contract is constructed. One of the most important things for us, and I'll use the landscaping contract as the first and best example. We consider this community to be a no-maintenance community. However, we supply a contract to our maintenance, to our landscaping contractor, a contract that describes the type of work that we want them to do, the frequency at which we want them to do it, and the responsibilities of the determination of what work has to be done. So as a result, rather than a no-maintenance contract, what we have is a level of service contract. Now, what that means basically is that we provide in that contract a level of service that we expect from the landscaper. It is not necessarily 100% of the time the level of service that you expect, but it is a constant balance between what we ask the landscaper to provide and what we choose to pay for that service. And as an example, we've all heard the comments of less is more or more is less. When you're dealing with a contract, it is always more is more. Anytime you ask for more, you pay more. So we have a responsibility to you to always balance that information so that the level of service is acceptable most of the time to most of the people and affordable for most of the time for most of the people. That's one of the most important things for us. So look forward to the first meeting that we will have in late September, I would expect. And if you have the opportunity, attend it, because we want people to understand what's in the contract. That makes a significant difference on how you understand the service that you're getting. And I think it's one of the things that we haven't done as well as we should have. So we've taken that on as the committee, and we hope you'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jason, the spa situation?
Like putting me on the spot every time. So we had an engineer come out and look at the spot. Because the contractor who works for us, the vendor, the issue with it has gotten a little beyond his ability to repair it. Because there's a form of leak where we're getting air into the jets, and they're replacing the jet portion of that. and hopefully finding the leak. Unfortunately, the vendor who's here, who works for us, given the fact that there are a lot of lines that run underneath the slab, or underneath the deck out there, it's a little further than what he can actually trace and find. So he's bringing in someone at a little bit higher level to help find that. So we're going to be a little bit longer. We're hoping to have an answer and possibly a repair, but at least an answer by the end of the week as to what is going on with it. We're trying to avoid pulling up a good portion of the pool deck to repair it. So we're trying to do everything we can to find the issue before we start pulling papers up to find the air leak or the leak that's coming into those jets. So if you be patient a little bit longer, we're hopefully going to have this resolved by the end of the week and get the jets up to full pressure. Everything else that could be done at the two ends has been done, so we know we've got to find the issue in between.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any new or old business they wish to bring up? The emergency call system that we decided to implement, we talked about that at the workshop. We do have an opportunity to have some or all of the costs for the first year of it as part of one of these Hillsborough County neighborhood grants. So we're going to submit that to a grant in the next few months. We'll know whether we obtain that grant, and if we do, or if we don't, we're going to get that system installed by the end of the year. But hopefully we can get a grant for it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Community-wide questions? Yes, sir.
Ron Rosenblatt, I live at Cedar Falls, I'm co-chair of the pond committee. This is in regards to Pond 7 and 8. On September 10th, that's the second Tuesday of the month, we're having our quarterly resident pond meeting. Louise and I will be hosting the event. We want to get as many people in as possible. We're going to talk about Remsen, and we also have a guest speaker from IFAS, University of Florida, and she's an expert on pond remediation and plantings as well for ponds as well as around your own home. And I believe, Maureen, you promised me you're going to have refreshments. So it's going to be in our Pond Ponderings newsletter, which comes out in September, for the September newsletter. So we want to get as many people as we can into the meeting, because it's not just related to ponds, it's for every resident in here with their information. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
And one of the things, I'd like to have Jason send out a verbal blast also, an email to remind all the residents.
What time of the day is it?
It's September 10th, it's Tuesday at 5 p.m.
Where?
Right here.
Please attend, it'll be important. Thanks, Ron. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank you all very much for attending. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? So moved.